Well, good morning. It is 7:27 a.m. headed to the airport. I am supposed to be already in South America. If you can tell from the outside, I see all the white stuff outside. I live in Arlington, Texas. We had some snow and ice yesterday, a lot of ice, and ice is a big issue. Hello, my name is Darren, by the way. I'm a dad, I'm an airline pilot, I'm a husband of a scientist. I'm headed to the airport to fly to Buenos Aires, Argentina. I was supposed to fly there last night, but the airport here couldn't handle clearing the runways effectively, so the flight was delayed until today. Um, One thing I see a lot whenever there's weather is people say, "Oh, you Southerners can't handle snow. If there's an inch of snow, you cancel school, you close the stores." Well, we don't have a lot of snow removal equipment because we don't get snow that often. But ice, no one can handle this much, ice very well. In my opinion, I am not a city employee that knows how to clear ice away, but my understanding is ice is very hard to clear away safely from multiple roadways and surfaces. But people up north, whenever you guys get like a 90-degree day, you guys start freaking out because you don't have air conditioning because it doesn't get that hot that often. Well, that's us in snow. So, anyways, uh, I had 2 weeks off. I kind of cleared out my schedule and hoping to pick up some easy flights. And yesterday they had the Buenos Aires double overnight open, and they had a bunch of trips open for today. And this is before the weather got really bad. I'm very junior, so I had to kind of place a bet because how our system works, I can either bid on stuff for current day. Well, I can do current day and next day, um, but you never know which one they're gonna run first. So I thought about running just for next day stuff leaving today, and I won it for time and a half. It's a game, right? Well, so yeah, a lot of people they have a lot of reserves available. Oh, by the way, there's no right now. There's no traffic at all. I'm the only car on the road. Um, they have a lot of reserves available, so they might not need me in the morning. So I don't really want to do a double all nighter, but you know what? I can handle it. So I bid for the Buenos Aires trip, and I got awarded the trip yesterday about 10:05 in the morning. It left at like 9:55 at night. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And then the weather started coming in and coming in and coming in and getting bad, 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 bad. And about 1:30 in the afternoon, the airport was shut down for a while, both Love Field and DFW. Wow, there's no cars at all. Um, and so the airline had to figure out what's the best way to handle operations. And since they could not clear the runways enough, they decided to delay the flight till today. So, well, they pulled me off the flight, and then they have to run this thing called recovery obligation, where the computer runs to refill all the flights. Of note, I was originally the relief pilot, and a pilot junior to me was the FO. Well, now she is the relief pilot, and I am the FO. Because we're both qualified for both positions. I don't know why it swapped us, but it did. So I'm flying it now. I get my first landing at 2025. But yeah, so it put me back on the trip, and then but it delayed it till like 7 a.m. initially. I'm like, I don't know, 7 in the morning might still be kind of crappy outside. It's not, but then they delayed it till 9 a.m. Okay, 9 a.m. That's fine. Um, so head to the airport now. So we leave here at 9. We're gonna have to de-ice. We're supposed to get there at like 10:30 local time, which is like 7:30 p.m. here. It'll be like an hour later because we have to de-ice here, and then I'm sure they're still figuring all that crap out. Um, and then I do a 22-hour overnight, and then I do the all-nighter tomorrow night, coming back into Dallas at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. So that is the trip. I did repack my Argentinian money I got for my last trip. Now, also because of the weather situation, the airport often works with the airport businesses to say, hey, to help get your workers into the airport safely on their work days, they are opening up the terminal parking for free for airport employees. So I'll be able to go into the airport and park in the terminal versus parking in the employee lot. And that's why I'm leaving a little bit later. Normally I leave my house, 45 minutes prior to sign in, even though I live 9 miles away. I left a few minutes later because there was no traffic and I'm parking in the terminal and not in the employee lot. Now, because I am going to Argentina, I know I'm coming back to Terminal D as in Delta. So I'm going to park in Terminal D, even though we're leaving from Terminal A. Again, at DFW Airport, 777s can only park at Terminal D and Terminal A, except for the hard stands. As far as the actual gate, it's D and A only. So I'm going to park in D, so when I come back on Sunday morning, I can walk to my car and head home. Also of note about Texans, by the way, and snow removal, a lot of Texans have big, giant SUVs, and they don't clear the top of their cars off. And I think it's illegal up north if you don't clear off the top of your car. And what happens is you'll be on the highway and a giant sheet of ice or snow will just fly off onto the road, making it really dangerous, or onto someone else's car, making it really dangerous. So I'm going to scoot over because somebody behind me is going way too fast for the conditions. I'm going across a bridge right now. Yeah. All right. That is all for now. Now, parking in the airport terminal parking is extremely nice. Again, I'm a civilian. If you are former military or if you have disabled veteran plates, you can park in the terminal for free. It's a great benefit those people have earned through their years of service to our country. But me, I'm just a civilian. So, parked my car, walked across the very cold but pretty empty airport because, again, so much weather had happened. There's not much traffic going on. Head into Terminal D, up through KCM, and then I rode the train around Terminal A. Now, this flight was supposed to be originally a 4-day trip with the first flight leaving at 10 p.m. and arriving early the next morning in Buenos Aires. Again, I don't care for the times of the actual flight time. This flight, it's all daytime, so I wouldn't be tired at all. I mean, we're still getting there late at night tonight. Like, it's still a 12-hour day for the most part, but it's much less on the body getting down there on this day one anyway. But got to the flight deck, and again, I was the last to arrive, which is not normal for me, but it is what it is. And I started getting myself ready. So this is a bird's eye view of how I get my seat ready to a point. So I always take out my headset and plug it in. This plugs in to a similar spot as the Airbus. It's up and behind the pilot, which is not comfortable ergonomically, but it is what it is. The airplane does come with headsets by the company. I like using my own headset. I use a Bose ProFlight 2. This is not for general aviation. It's only for quiet flight decks. There's very little ear protection involved. Once done, I pull out my company EFB. It's just an iPad Air. I keep it in a nice bright blue case. And there's Velcro on the back, FAA approved Velcro that sticks to the airplane. And now it is set in place. We don't have any power outlets on the 200, only on the 300. So I have to be mindful of my power usage out of airplane mode. And people ask, I get free Wi-Fi on my company EFB, but only the company supplied apps work with the Wi-Fi. All right. As far as the flight down there, it was the same as last time. Leave Dallas, head toward Houston, out over the Gulf of Mexico, over Central America, then down the western side of South America. It doesn't get interesting until we get right over the Andes Mountains, and we go over this portion of the Andes Mountains because they have the thinnest portion. It's very high there, right? There's a thing called a grid mora. All those numbers you see, like 23.1, the brown numbers, those are the altitude in that section that you can descend to and have 2,000-foot clearance of any terrain. Now, understand, the oxygen masks that fall down from your ceiling, they give you about 12 minutes of oxygen on board. So we want to go over the thinnest portion possible because even at 23,000 feet, that air, you can't breathe. So we need to descend as quickly as we can and get to a lower altitude. That's why we go over this thin portion. But if there is a rapid decompression of the cabin, we can descend down and quickly get to a lower terrain area where you can breathe the air. Get down to 15,000 feet or so where you can at least stay awake. But again, it's extremely rare to have a rapid decompression of the cabin, but we prepare for everything. Safety always comes first. Now, once we clear the Andes Mountains, it's flat going over to Buenos Aires. It's like flying over Kansas. But when it was a straight-in approach to runway 11, once we got there, the captain made a pretty good landing, better than mine was, you'll see, on 11, taxied to the gate, and we got everybody off the airplane pretty quickly because we weren't that full because, again, we came a day late, right? So walked off the airplane, and then It's a pretty decent walk from the airplane all the way to customs, and then even leaving customs, we still have to have our bag scanned. It's common in a lot of countries to scan our bags. So we put our bag through the scanners, they scanned them, then out the door we went to the hotel van. Now I was tired, right? This is pretty late at night. It's a long day for me. So I did go to bed once I got to the hotel. The next day I slept in. I'm not gonna lie. I was in bed till about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and then said, all right, time to get out. And it was a beautiful day in Buenos Aires. And again, this is at the normal hotel, so I had to get my bearings straight. Went out and I did a lot of walking. Again, I like to walk 3 to 4 miles on my overnights to get my steps in, and this helps me get tired for my red eye later on that day. So someone probably knows this name of the street, but I went down this main drag in Buenos Aires, walked quite a bit, went in a few stores, and tried to find lunch. And I settled on to some empanadas. It's light, it's cheap, and it's tasty. So I grabbed my empanadas and headed back to the hotel after my walk to get ready for my nap. All right, so Buenos Aires again. Good trip down here for the most part. Not really an all-nighter. It wasn't an all-nighter. Parked Terminal D, went to KCM, didn't get random. Go me, went from Terminal D. I did go downstairs to the crew room to get some paperwork because we needed it. Then I went over to Terminal A because that's where the plane was. The plane was supposed to go to Hawaii initially on Thursday. They returned the gate because the whole airport shut down because the runways couldn't get clear enough. Anyways, so we boarded up. I was the last person to get to the flight deck. Not normal for me. I met my relief pilot who was the FO, but she is now the relief pilot. Don't know why they swapped us, but they did. She's a very nice woman. She lives in Houston. And then met the captain, and he looked familiar to me. Super quiet guy, and we've flown together before. We both recognize each other. I think we flew to Europe together at some point. But boarded up, I think we had 33 passengers on a 777-200. I don't know where all the passengers went, but 33 people, and we had 11 crew. So we had one crew per 3 passengers. They had amazing service in the back. Yeah, we pushed back, and then we had to de-ice yesterday. And for de-icing in Dallas, how it works is you make a reservation with the de-icing company. And then, so we, half an hour before pushback, I call and say, hey, this is flight 997 Papa. I'll explain that in a second. We're going to push back here in about 30 minutes. Where we're going to be de-icing at. And so, well, we'll get to your reservation, right? Board up, close up, push back, and it tells us we're going to be de-icing in the southwest pad next to 36 right. Well, that's good because we're taking off on 36 right. So we taxied out nice and slow because it's still icy ramps and everything. Well, there was no snow falling, but it's still wet ramps. They're reporting light snow, but whatever. Taxied over to the west side, like number 7 in line, and we're waiting, and we see a DHL plane come and like cut the line. We're like, where are they going? Well, they were able to, right? So they only have so many spots for heavies in the de-icing area. We have a much bigger wingspan than everybody's do. So they're down there in the spot. We're like, well, crap. And we're moving up slowly, moving up. And I have final number 2. And we get to our spot, and we start de-icing, and they're still down there. And apparently they had a mechanical because they had to return the gate with all the snow on them. Like they were going down the runway, taxiing, and just all the snow's falling off of them. So that's unfortunate. But got fully de-iced and launched to Buenos Aires. Long flight. The relief pilot went back and she took her break first, about 3 hours each-ish. Then the captain went back and he flew down. And we've flown together before at some point. Super nice guy. Very quiet. That's fine. Didn't do a lot of talking. He went back for his break, and then she came up front and sat in the captain's seat. And me and her talked quite a bit. She's very interesting. They're both former military. She commutes out of Houston, and she drives. Like she drives up to Dallas. I'm like, man, that's rough. Like a 4 or 5 hour drive from Houston to start your trip. Of course, she started driving on Thursday when she started leaving that night, and then she had to stay with a friend that night because we didn't go Thursday, we went Friday. But of course, we're getting home tomorrow at 6 in the morning, and like, I don't know how she's gonna drive 5 hours home after a red eye. Because as a relief pilot, she gets the first break again, and I get the middle break, and Captain gets the last break. Well, it depends how we do it. Because it's my option to take either the middle break or the last break. I don't know how we do it. But anyways, nice flight here. We talked to the relief pilot quite a bit. Then it's time for my break. And when I first got on the airplane, I used to be like, I'm going to the bed for a rest. I'm going to the bunk for a rest. I'm not going to the seat. That's crazy.
I've changed. I went to the seat for rest on the way down here. Now on the way back, I'll probably go to the bed because my break last night was between like, good Lord, 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. ish, I guess, in Dallas time, or maybe 5 and 8. I don't know. It was early, so I wasn't really sleepy, but I took a nap anyway. When my break was over, I had our arrival meal, which was a breakfast meal because it was supposed to be originally breakfast. I had a nice omelet. I watched some YouTube. Went back up front, and then we were already about maybe 150 miles, 200 miles from Buenos Aires, and I made my arrival PA, and I was a little, a little tired, whatever. I made it on approach frequency. I haven't made a PA on approach frequency in a long time. Now, I only said, hey, ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, we begin our descent down to the Buenos Aires area, and I looked down, and I realized I was talking on approach. Crap. So I swapped over to the PA real quick and made the PA correctly. And then about 30 seconds later, it was a quiet approach frequency. It wasn't very busy at all. They said, flight 997 Papa, say again. I'm like, disregard. um, oh yeah, we're flight 997 Papa, by the way, because it's normally flight 997. But because we are a day late, the original flight 997 left last night. So we can't have two flights in the same day. So they add a letter to the flight number, and passengers never see it. It's only an ATC thing. Anyways, we came in straight into runway 11, landed, and then we had to do a little weird taxi to get into the gate. I'll show you on the screen somewhere. Kind of like onto runway 35 and back around to the gate. They planed very quickly because we only had 30 some odd passengers on board. So by the time we had done the shutdown checklist, the passengers were all off the airplane. So we all cleared customs, got on the bus. Last time I was here, we stayed in a different hotel. Right now we're in a normal hotel. They're both nice hotels. The other one had free breakfast though, but it didn't really matter because we got here last night at 1 a.m. local time. Well, I guess midnight local time. No, midnight 30. I don't know. Called my wife. It was 10 o'clock in Dallas. This is 1 o'clock local time. So I called my wife, talked to her for a bit, and then I went to bed around 1:30-ish, 2 o'clock local time. And I slept in today. I didn't really start functioning until like 10 a.m. local time and left the room around noon. So didn't know a whole lot because it's currently 2:15 and it's time for me to take my nap. So I can, again, I'm all about rest on overnights. Exploring the city a little bit, but I want to be rested for the flight. I hate being tired. So I'm gonna take a nice good nap and then get up this evening to head back to the airport to fly the red eye back to DFW. Again, nice premium trip. This trip puts me at 70 hours for the month. Again, this trip was originally 21 hours. Then with the de-icing up to 23 hours. So I'll get about 31 hours of pay-ish, which is now worth about the same or a little bit more than my last trip to Korea, which was straight time. And I have one trip to Madrid left for the month. So if I do nothing else for the rest of the month, I get paid 70-ish hours, I believe. 20, 30 plus 20 plus 20, 80 hours. Because it's 40 plus 30, 80 hours because of the premium. Yeah, yeah. So I'll probably pick up one more trip to get to 100 and then I'll be good. All right, nap time. All right, all dressed up, nowhere to go. Just kidding. It is time to head downstairs to head to the airport. Still light outside for now. We leave here at 10:30 p.m. So got a little time. Had a decent nap, not my best nap to be honest. But again, I probably overdo it. Again, I like being rested for flights, so I went to bed at like 2 p.m. I wanted to get a 5 hour nap in. Yeah, I didn't get 5 hours, but I gave myself 5 hours of rest because that's what I like to do. But yeah, head back. The flights have been getting in an hour early. So I told my wife I'd either land at 5:30 or 6:30. So home by 6:30 or 7:30. If I land at 5:30, I'll get donuts for the kids. If I land at 6, I'll get donuts. If I land at like 6:45, if we get to the gate at 6:45, no, because they'll already be awake and fully eaten. They've already eaten breakfast before I get home. So, all right, let's head to the airport. So late in the evening, we all hopped in the hotel van and headed to the airport. Again, going from Buenos Aires downtown to the airport, it's a bit of a drive. They have a lot of toll booths. The highway's a little bit chaotic, and I respect the drivers down there. I'm sure they say the same thing about us American drivers, but it's different. Now, the outside of the airport is
a little bit old, but the inside has been totally redone. It's an amazingly modern airport to walk into. But the challenge as a crew member is always figuring out where the crew line is and then getting through crew security. And same problem as last time where the crew line, and it's for every crew, there's people behind us and ahead of us, our airline crew. We're going through the line with normal people who were put in this line thinking they were getting an expedited experience. And it appeared to be a lot of families, but we're a crew of 14 and there's another crew of 18 behind us from another airline, all cutting in front of them. And they all got upset with us, but I'm like, sorry, this is the crew line. It is what it is. But we all cleared security and then we had to clear customs. And thankfully this time I remembered once I cleared customs to not go through duty free. And so I made this little right turn. And if you make this right turn, then you go right by duty free and on the way to the gate. Again, walking down the jet bridge, headed to the airplane. In Dallas, normally the FB would arrive early to do all the setup for us, but because we're all together, I do my own flight deck preparation, and the FB does the exterior pre-flight, and they make the beds for us. But we launched out of here on time and headed toward Dallas Fort Worth. Standard departure, our runway 11. We were very heavy, so we had to get extra performance numbers, make sure everything was good to go. But launched and headed out west. Again, I'm flying the trip, right? So I'm taking the second break on this leg. The FB took the first break as always. Again, we went through the gap again. And just giving us more attention here, you can see how the numbers rise quite a bit and how much wider that area is than further north you go. That's why when leaving Buenos Aires, we go all the way west and then go north. We don't just go north and make the straightest line toward Dallas Fort Worth, even though we save a lot of fuel and a lot of time. Safety always comes first. So we go west through the gap, then turn and head north and head up toward Dallas Fort Worth. Now, I had the second break on this trip. Could have had the third break. It depends on how I want to do it. I was a flying pilot. I did choose the second break, which did help break up the trip quite a bit. 3 hours in the seat, 3 hour break, and then 3 hours in the seat. We flew right over Houston, my old hometown, and I always kind of look out and see if I can spot the area I grew up in. Every now and then I can, because I can spot the Weiser Airport. I was near my high school. But anyways, headed toward DFW. We were leading the pack as far as all the heavies coming in from South America. And part of every arrival, we discussed threats, we discussed landing distance, we discussed the whole approach, especially been up for a long time. I just want to show you here, on this particular aircraft, we didn't have a right thrust reverser. It was MEL'd. Not a big deal. Only the left one was working. Not a big deal. And I'm just going to show you here at max landing weight, 10 knot crosswind. Look at the landing distance down there. It's not going to change much. Right now, I have no thrust reverser credit. 7,000 feet, flaps 30, auto brakes 2 to a complete stop. Max braking, auto brakes 40 at 515, auto brakes 2 again, 70, 60. Then, okay, what about thrust reverse credit? Okay, both thrust reversers? Okay, 7,040 feet. One thrust reverser, 7,060 feet. So on a dry runway, a thrust reversers, they don't really help that much. It more helps on a contaminated or wet runway. But today, not that big of a deal. Again, this is something we have similar to my aircraft. We have a better one as far as my airline uses, but that's what we use before every single landing. Early morning arrival, the controllers kind of gave us a left turn over toward the west to join the final and vector us in for the visual approach to 18 right. And one thing I'm still getting used to and kind of annoys me a little bit is, on these long haul flights, there can be half a day really between takeoff and landing, right? So getting the head back in the game, ready to get, come in for landing, and I am not fatigued, but I'm tired, right? I mean, here we are at 5 in the morning, right? Normally I'm rolling out of bed right now, and here I am getting to land almost a $500 million airplane. So I do use automation at the appropriate levels of automation. A lot of people think hand flying is the way to do it. Yeah, a lot of us hand fly, and I hand fly at the appropriate times. And I keep it smooth and use automation to assist me in flying the airplane. Even when the autopilot's flying the plane, I am still in control of the airplane. A lot of people don't understand that. Planes don't have AI, and they'll not have AI till well after I have passed away. Everything in aviation happens slowly, over budget, and underperforms. That's my soapbox I will stand on forever. Anyways, you can see the runway up ahead, 18 right. My standard operandi is I will leave the automation on to about 1,000 feet above the ground. I'll turn autopilot off, and I'll hand fly it from that point on. Sometimes I'll do a little earlier, right? It depends on the situation. I don't have a hard and fast rule about 1,000 feet, but that's my average. 1,000 feet above the ground, autopilot clicks off. Now, there is an issue with this particular flight factor model. Maybe I have it set up wrong. I don't think I do. when I press the autopilot disconnect, either on the button on the yoke with my mouse or with my yoke, I have the hand fly the airplane. I get a master warning for autopilot being turned off, and I have to manually click the little autopilot disengage on the MCP. It's an issue. Hopefully they'll get it resolved. Being a long, heavy airplane, we want to land just beyond the 1,000-foot markings, the big rectangles, white rectangles. Ideally, 1,500 feet to 2,000 feet down the runway. I was about 1,800 to 2,000 feet down the runway on this landing. Again, it wasn't my best work. It is what it is, right? I had a nice quartering headwind. I can't blame anything but myself as far as my performance. It was smooth. It just wasn't in the right spot that I was happy with. Now, on X-Plane, the lights are not aligned with the center of the runway. This is an X-Plane 12 issue. I can't fix that, but it is what it is. Anyways, parked the airplane, got to the gate, and the relief pilot said she was going to drive home to Houston. The captain and I were like, hey, we've been up for a while. If you need to pull over and take a nap, because that's a long drive after a long flight. But I did the shutdown checklist again, and a secure checklist. That's one I have to do. And I put in my credit for my landing to extend my time before my next landing sim if I ever have to do one again. I'm sure I will. Left customs to a very empty arrivals hall.
You know it's early when there's no one waiting for any international arrivals. Whew. All right, outside.
It was very nice to walk outside and have not very little traffic and go right across to my car, which was already pre-started and waiting for me. You can see it way down at the end. Packed my car and headed home quite a few minutes early, and now for the post-flight debrief. All right, made it back from Buenos Aires. It's currently 6:13 a.m. I wasn't due to arrive for another half an hour, so it's pretty nice being in my car headed home before our arrival time. In fact, if I wasn't going to stop and get donuts for the kids, I could get home in my garage before my official arrival time. But donuts are more important than beating some silly record. Long flight. I had the second break, and I slept decently. I had about 2 hours total of sleep. Napping, sleep, however you want to call it. We shot the gap. I was up there for that. Then we turned northbound, passing Santiago. Pretty benign flight overall. Sat in the cabin for a couple hours, took a break, sat on the FB for a couple hours. Then came over to Houston. I am more tired. Again, I've said it before. It's just flying from Europe. I would be halfway home right now, and it's just leaving what we do from South America just really destroys my energy. I had a good nap-ish before the break, before the flight. It's just something about that time doesn't agree with me. The all-nighter. European all-nighters are different than deep South America all-nighters. Landed on 18 right, went right down the runway, flaps 25. Of course, I had just one thrust reverser, if I haven't mentioned it yet. I had just one thrust reverser. Not a big deal. We have a 14,000 foot runway, right? So, yeah, plenty of room for landing distance. Even with one thrust, we have a landing distance calculator. But even with no thrust reversers, we needed 4,500 feet to stop, and we have 13,400 feet available. So, isn't it nice pulling through the paid parking, not paying? Thank you, DFW Airport. You're nice for once. But one thrust reverser runs right down the runway. I had an average landing. I floated more than I wanted to. Also, wasn't working with my power seat, and so I had to use the manual seat. And I kept moving my seat up and down during the flight trying to get the right seat height. That's my excuse. And I think I was sitting a little too high or low, one or the other. That's my excuse. And so I started flaring I started arresting the flare about 50 feet, getting into the flare around 30 feet, and I just floated more than I wanted to. I was at 10 feet and just floating a little bit more than I wanted to. Still touchdown in the touchdown zone. I'll look at my landing later on when I get home. But with one thrust reverser, we landed. Then we had auto brakes too, and I just manually got on the brakes manually. And there's no reason to make a certain exit, so I just Nice, smooth stop, nice, peaceful stop. Exit the runway, into the gate, shut down the airplane, cleared right through customs, and yeah. So I am technically off until I go to Madrid later in the month. So I'm off the rest of the week. I'm probably going to go to the Detroit Auto Show. I don't know. I'm going to debate that or not. There's a Frankfurt trip that I could bid for this week as well. I haven't been to Frankfurt yet, but we'll see. I'm at 80 hours for the month. If I get one more trip, I can get up to 100 hours. So, but yeah, I'll let Darren wrap it up from here. No, I probably should get donuts. Okay. So the best donuts are Shipley's donuts. If you didn't know. I'm gonna find my phone. It's in my pocket. All right, donuts. Oh, best donuts. Best donuts. All right. Okay, now Darren, wrap it up. Thanks, Darren. So the trip was fine. Again, I had nothing against Buenos Aires. The biggest thing problem I have with the normal trip is we normally, report to the airport at 8 o'clock at night to fly all night. Yes, I get a 2 or 3 hour break, but we arrive at 8:40 in the morning. Sorry, 7:40 in the morning, Dallas time. So I am literally up all night long, watch the sunrise, which kills motivation, and then get into the airport at 8:40 in the morning Dallas time, well past my normal wake up time. And then when we leave Buenos Aires, again, we report to the airport roughly about 6:30 p.m. Dallas time. Again, I'm up well before that, right? So here I am in 6:30 in the evening, Dallas time, and we work all night long until 6:43 a.m. the next day. Double all-nighters. It's just not for me. Now, comparing that to a London trip, let's say I was going to London, and let's pull up a random trip real quick. I'm not that slick. So a normal London trip leaving in the afternoon. We leave here, report to the airport about 3 in the afternoon. We're done in London at 1:20 in the morning, Dallas time. It's 7:20 in the morning London time, but 1:20 p.m. or a.m. Dallas time. So a little past midnight, right? Not a true all-nighter. When we leave London, we leave at 2:30 in the morning Dallas time. Get back here around 2 in the afternoon. So it's the times of the Buenos Aires flight I have a problem with. I have no problem at all with Argentina. That said, it was a good trip. It was nice to have a premium trip. Again, I bet big on picking up that trip because that was the only trip my seniority could have held. Yeah, we had lots of snow that day and the next day, but the next day was covered all by reserves or people senior to me. I am very junior on this airplane, so I have to be very selective in what I get. I don't always get the Incheon 28-hour premium trip, right? I get what I get, and I'm not complaining. I just have to be more strategic and can't be as picky as I would be when I was a senior FO on the Airbus. Now, as far as the pay for the trip, the normal pay would have been 23 hours and 6 minutes because we went overtime because of the de-icing. Would have at 300 my pay rate would have been $7,034.87. But because I got premium for it, I get time and a half even for the reassignment, which now equals about $10,500, right? So it paid very well for the trip. Not complaining whatsoever. My international pay was $115.50, and then you can see my per diem on the screen. That said, next month I do have 2 Buenos Aires 4 days on my schedule. I do plan on dropping or getting rid of them. If they were better times, I'd be happy to do it. But that was it. It helped with my monthly paycheck and my hours for the month. As I stand here, I have 2 trips left for the month. And with that said, I will be right at 100 hours for the month, flying 4 trips in a total of 12 days. My name is Darren. I'm a dad. I'm an airline pilot. I am a husband of a scientist. If you can, please like, subscribe, and comment. Most importantly, just hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you no money, and it helps me a lot. Have a great day, and as always, thank you for stopping by.